Ooh, that's bright. All right, let's go here. Yeah, I like that better. There we go. Kind of bright. Let's turn that off. Got my new theme music going on here. All right, so it's Friday. It's almost 9. I'm a little early today. So anyway, let's see. What am I going to talk about today? I've got a few different things. It's the last day to vote tomorrow for early voting. So we're going to talk about that. Early voting. We can talk about Trump if anybody out there wants to. Where is Desjardins? I think that's a good question. And let's see, anything else? Oh, and then city elections. Get out and vote. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I can't believe I hit. I'll be back at 9. No Trump. No Trump. I get it. Hey, Jason. How's your campaign going? I still haven't seen that email. I don't know where it's buried. I got 224 messages in my inbox, though. So got a little work to do today for sure. Email jail. What's your the guy you're running against? What's he done lately? Anything bad? Are you still there? Going well. Sent it by Gmail yesterday before you sent the other one. Gotcha. I'll check the Gmail account. I don't check it as often, but I will check it. Who do you think's going to win that race between Don White and Ernest Burgess? You got to pick. Drink from a cup. Two minutes. Yeah, you think so? Man, I don't know. She definitely is outworking him. No doubt about that. No doubt. But, has he made up for it with I figure my thing in politics is you either got check equity or you got sweat equity. And she's using sweat equity, but she raised a bunch of money too. But, he's got unlimited funds. And so can he buy it? That's the question. Can he buy it? Are you going to outwork your candidate that you're running against? That's the question. Oh, that's good. See, I'm not in the district, so I'm not seeing what's going on in the mailbox. I know I think you don't have to raise more money than your opponent, but you gotta raise enough money. And I think that she's done that. So because she knew this race was coming. Everybody knew this race was coming. They didn't know who it would be against, but everybody knew that Ketchum was going to step down. That's why he voted for the gas tax, in my opinion. And anyway, because, can you imagine if he had decided to run again? He would have gotten hammered for that vote. Hammered. And as much as the Chamber of Commerce liked that gas tax thing, they don't vote. Not in primaries. And it would have been a tough election for sure. All right, we're 9 o'clock. Let's go live. Where's my music? Yeah. It's not as good as The Middle Ground by Zeb, but, I don't pay royalties on this one.
Take a seat.
Oh, am I supposed to be playing that? I don't think so. That's funny. Snuck in there on me. All right. Hey, guys, it is hey, Jamie, how are you? It's Friday, man. It's tomorrow is the last day to early vote, and it'll be interesting. I've talked with people, and they say that the vote is up. We got a great turnout going on here in Rutherford County. It'll be interesting to see who wins. Of course, these races are going to be tight, in my opinion, and so every vote counts, and which is great, because a lot of times you go in to vote, and really people feel like my vote doesn't matter, but in these in tight races, it really does. And so, I hope everyone will get out and vote. I really do. I think it's interesting to see the Republican Party actually trying to push a little bit in these nonpartisan races here in Rutherford County. There's been emails that have gone out about people's voting records, and so if you're not involved in politics, you may not know this, but when you go in during the primary season and you walk up to ask for your ballot, you walk in the door, they're sitting there, you go, hey, I'd like to vote. You show them your ID, of course, and they'll ask you which ballot you want. And they ask, do you want, Republican or Democrat? Again, I always say Libertarian, but that's not allowed in Tennessee. So I then ask for Republican. And so I'm straight R, baby. And so because of that, I could run for office as a Republican, according to their rules. They might try to throw me out for my love for the Libertarian Party, but Anyway, I don't think I'll have that problem anytime soon. I don't see myself running for office. So let's see. But when you walk in and you declare Republican or Democrat, that's when you're declaring your party in the state of Tennessee. And so you could change it. This time I'll vote Democrat, this time I'll vote Republican. You change it whenever. But when you pull that, you're saying that's the party you identify with. And so what the Republican Party did was they sent out emails showing how people have voted, whether they are solid R or whether they're back and forth or whether they vote mostly Republican or mostly Democrat or are they solid D. And so that kind of gives you an idea of where they stand on some important issues, I would say. And so, and then they came out and they endorsed 3 candidates for city council. And I'm friends with when you're involved, when you pay attention to politics, you become friends with a lot of people, especially during election season because they want your vote. And so once they get elected, sometimes they're not as friendly because especially in my case, because I'll give you a hard time if you raise taxes for sure, or if you increase the size of government, scope of government, things of that nature. But so I'm hoping that you guys will go out and vote. I'm tempted to tell you who I voted for, but I'm not going to because all it does is upset people. And let's see. So we got early voting going on, and I encourage you guys to get out and vote. Make sure you vote in the city council race. You do not have to use all 3 votes. I think that's really important for you guys to know. The reason you wouldn't want to use all 3 votes is because if it makes really statistically, if you only vote for one person, you're giving them an advantage. And because the goal is you got to be in the top 3 to win. And so there's 3 spots. And if you spread your votes out amongst the like in my case, I'm always pulling for an underdog, and if you spread your votes out for underdogs, then you might keep them from getting in. You might, one knock out another or something like that. Or sometimes people will vote for a leader that they think is going to do well in the race, and then they vote also for an underdog, and maybe that person knocks out another. But anyway, you can one vote if you'd like. In my case, you can 2 vote, you can 3 vote. Anyway, just know that you don't have to vote. You don't have to use all 3 votes there. Let's see. So let's talk local politics. Let's talk about Scott DesJarlais. And where is Scott DesJarlais? I know that he takes this, our county, Rutherford County, for granted. He really does. I think he knows that, I think he could win. He really could win here, but it's almost like he just enjoys ignoring us. And I'm not it's very frustrating to live in Rutherford County to feel so ignored, but I do feel like he ignores us. Tina Jones was his field rep. Of course, she stepped down to run for county mayor, and he's yet to fill that position. And the field rep it's really important because you want your congressman to be seen in the area and for people to have a feeling. Hey, David, thanks for joining. We're talking about DesJarlais right now. And where is he? And I was talking about his absence of having a field rep here. And I think that it's important because, the federal government, the reason you would want to know who your field rep is because if you need something from the federal government, you call up your congressman. If you need a passport quickly, he'll take care of that. If you need VA benefits, things of that nature, you call them up. Social Security issues, anything that comes from the federal government, if you're having a problem with them, you can call your congressman, and normally you'll get a field rep, and the field rep will help you solve those problems. And, dealing with our massive federal government and its inefficiencies means that you're going to have problems. And so that's why field reps are really important because they provide service to the constituents. And so anyway, us not having one, I think just shows disdain for Rutherford County. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know because DesJarlais won't come on my show. I sent him an email, asked him to come on, and he won't. And so Jack Maddox did. And I'd love to see Jack, pull off the upset, beat DesJarlais. That'd be huge. But the odds are that that's not going to happen because Jack was running on not a lot of money. DesJarlais just sent out a mailer. I was going to bring it in and show it to you guys in case you didn't get it, but there it is. He's sitting right next to Trump, and so he's saying, if you like Trump, you like me. And And I think a vote for Desjardins is definitely a vote for Trump. But you know, Jack Maddox running against Desjardins, he views himself as an outsider. Desjardins has been in office for a while now. Some would call him a political insider. My worry about Desjardins is that when the budget does get tough, and eventually it's going to, there's going to be cuts, and I could see, and this is a scary thought, but I could see our VA in Murfreesboro being cut. I really could, because there's one in Nashville, and so if there are ever any cuts, a guy like Desjardins, who hasn't made very many friends up there, who hasn't been willing to make deals, I could see him getting. I watched House of Cards. I know what happens to those guys, and the sad part is that would have a very bad effect on Murfreesboro's economy. Hey, Nate Simpson, how are you, man? So let's see. We got that, Desjardins, and then of course city elections. It's important to get people out to vote for those. In Rutherford County and in Murfreesboro, it's going to be an important 4 years that we're electing. So we got county commissioners being elected, and you got city council members, and they're going to be behind the 8 ball as far as budgets go, for sure. Right now, Rutherford County, lowest property tax in our surrounding area, and that's great. But I don't think it'll last very long. And so, normally they raise taxes the year. Hey, Rob Mitchell. Rob knows this. They raise taxes not in election years. They raise them right after they get elected. And so within, I imagine within 6 months of this election, we will get a property raise here in Rutherford County. I'm not happy about that. My real worry is about the reevaluation and things of that nature, from my understanding. And I'm still learning, still trying to figure out how these property taxes work and stuff. And Rob has done a great job of explaining it to me. But it's based on the changes because they did a countywide reevaluation where they appraise your property. And if your property value went way up, if it jumped a whole lot, then you're going to pay more of future taxes. And I'm not sure how appraisals went, but I know by looking at how houses are selling and at what prices they're selling and what prices they sold for, I pay close attention to that. I know that areas like Laverne have really jumped up. I mean, they've jumped up a lot. And so the values were equalized. That's the proper wording for it. Thank you, Rob. Pin that. So the values were equalized, meaning that, if you want to know more about it, Rob came on the show and we talked about it for like an hour. So anyway, that was a great interview. But what I worry about is that because the values are equalized, those in Laverne are going to be paying more property taxes than they had in the past, and that could really affect people if they're on the edge, right? If you're spending every penny right now with your bills as they are, if that happens and then they raise property taxes, your house payment could go up. And it doesn't take a lot to put people underwater when you're barely hanging on. It just doesn't take a lot. And so that's why our city councils, up in Laverne, up in Smyrna, and the ones here in Murfreesboro, when they go to raise taxes, there's some real effects going on. And people talk about, like with the gas tax this past year, raising it up, it's just a nickel, it's just a little bit. But if you're on the edge, man, that could be a nickel too much, and that's money you got to take away from something else. And maybe it's a kid's new shoes. Maybe, I don't know, but people have to make cuts, and a lot of people don't make cuts, right? What they do is they just run further in debt. They use a credit card, they borrow money, and they don't make cuts until they have to, right? Until they absolutely have to. And that's when you get foreclosures and things like that. And that's not good for the economy, not good at all. And so that's why your elections matter. They do. And if you vote for people who are going to be okay with raising property taxes, you get what you deserve, and so I'm worried about it. I really am. There's only one candidate that I know of that's really against those. And so, and that's Sean Wright. He's been very vocal about not wanting to raise taxes. So, I think all the other candidates want to be wise about it, but sometimes, you need some campaign promises to hold people accountable is the thing. And when you don't have campaign promises to hold your feet to the fire on, you can do whatever you want when you get elected. And sometimes you do what's politically expedient, and you do whatever you feel is popular at the time. I would rather have I like having people in there that how they can vote, how they're going to vote, and you can plan accordingly. So anyway, anybody got any questions or anything? It's going to be short show today. I was not a lot going on other than voting. I'm looking forward to seeing how these totals turn out. I've been interested in the Dawn White, Ernest Burgess race. I really have. It looks like a tough race for sure. I'm not in the district, but I hear that that Dawn White is matching Ernest Burgess in mailers, which is great. And I would guess that Dawn White's campaign is out knocking on doors like crazy, and so she's a hard worker when it comes to campaigning. And so, but if she pulls it off, it'll definitely be considered an upset. She's definitely an underdog to Ernest Burgess, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, last thing, last night. How's my campaign going? Well, I am on the ballot, Rob. Thanks for asking. I was hoping I'd see your name on the ballot for governor, but as you know, I am on the ballot. Since you brought it up, I'll mention it. I'm on the ballot as an independent, so really, no, you won't see me until November. But you're going to see me and a whole bunch of other libertarians. We all ran as independents. The reason we ran as independents is because we can't run as libertarians. I mean, we could, but it'd take 33,000 signatures to get our name on the ballot with an L next to our name. And so, as you might imagine, that's kind of tough because really 33,000 is the minimum. Those at the election office always suggest you get double whatever is required. So that way, if they take people off your list, you'll still qualify. And so, to run as an independent, you need 25. I got 50, right? But to run as a libertarian, you need 33,000. That means 66,000. To run as a Republican would take 25 and get 50. Run as a Democrat is 25, 50. You see how that's a little unfair? It's more than a little unfair. So, like I said, myself, about 20 other people are running as independents to protest how we do our election laws here in Tennessee. And I keep telling people, and I'm going to say it right now, that if the state of Tennessee doesn't change this law, which we asked them to do before, but if they don't, we're going to put 100 people on the ballot for governor in 4 years, and maybe more than that if we do it again, because we're not going away. The Libertarian Party is not going away. We're not satisfied with being a Republican light. Because the issues that there's too much hypocrisy in Republicans when they say they're for smaller government and then they get elected and they don't vote for it, and so that's frustrating. So that's that. And that's why I'm running for governor. The issue, well, I'm not running, I'm on the campaign. The issue at the VA are a great concern. Glad you addressed it. Look, it is Rob's right. Look, it's the issue that no one talks about. There's Scott Desjardins is very well known to be talked about these Tea Party issues, right? That he wants smaller government, and he's not for voting for bigger budgets most of the time. And so and his constituents agree with him that they're for it. But what I found when I would go to those Tea Party groups and stuff like that, if you ask those people, well, what about the benefits you're getting from the federal government? Do you want those cut? Of course, they don't want those cut. And so anyway, you can't be for cutting size of government without realizing that eventually that axe will come down on you. And so it's possible that we could lose the VA if we're not careful. If we don't send smart people to Washington, you could lose that. And, you got to remember, before Desjardins, we had Bart Gordon, long time serving congressman, who did a great job of making sure that federal dollars came here. When you walk on that greenway ought to be called the Bart Gordon Greenway, because he brought that. And even when you look at MTSU right now, the development that's going on at MTSU, that main highway that's under construction, that is Bart Gordon federal dollars that are at work right there. It's been a long time coming, but that goes back to when he was our congressman. And so a lot of the Democrats, they don't do a very good job of expressing this. But when you're running at the federal level, I think some people don't realize that when you go up there, man, sometimes it's important to bring some dollars back. If they're going to be spending them anyway, I want them spent here, right? If the government's going to run itself into the ground and run us off over the cliff into hyperinflation eventually with all the dollars they're printing, then daggone it, we need stuff here. We need infrastructure here. We need every dollar we can get from the federal government that they're going to spend. I want to spend here. If they're going to spend it, let's spend it in Tennessee. And so sometimes Republicans they won't go up there and get it and bring it back here. And so I think it's important that you do. I'm not for the spending, but if you're going to spend it, then spend it in Tennessee. And maybe that's hypocritical of me, but I feel like it's going to get spent somewhere, right? If the federal government is not turning off the spigot anytime soon. And so therefore, let's spend it in Tennessee. Let's see, management at the VA is an issue, not sending more money to it. No, you're right. Look, if you want the best, you're going to pay for the best. And the VA is cutting that. And so, yeah, you get bad management, you get back. It's just bad management causes a lot of problems. That's for sure. Let's see. So I want to mention James Gann just popped in. Thank you, James, for coming on the show. So this week's podcast, if you guys haven't subscribed on iTunes or on Anchor or any of the other places where you can find it, it'll have my rambling from this morning. And then after that, it'll have the interview I did with James Gann. You can also go on Answer Fancher and watch that. And so watch the interview with James Gann. The great thing about that interview is we talk about Robert Arnold in it. But what I really want people to gather from it is that citizens saw that there was bad government going on, and it was citizens that stopped it. It wasn't government that stopped it, although eventually that's what came in and took Robert Arnold out of office. But it was citizens using the government to take a bad elected official out of office, and that's important. And that means that people need to be vigilant. They need to be paying attention, and I hope you guys are. And if you're listening to this or watching this, then you are. And so, which is great. And anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Like it, share the show, subscribe to the show if you're on YouTube. Go to the podcast, download it, leave me a review. I really appreciate it. I know this is it's a work in process. I'm still learning how to do podcasts and things of that nature. I hope you enjoy it when I bring people on, and you can help me get more and better people to want to come on. Commissioner Fancher. I love that, Jason Cole. I show up over at work again. Man, I'm sorry. I don't watch the YouTube videos like I should, the feed on that. I'm working on getting them both to come together, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. But anyway, thanks for tuning in on YouTube. Like and share the video. I appreciate it. And anyway, take care. Talk to you guys soon.